Hello, my name is Mariana, and today this is a reading for Aquarius. So Aquarius, as always, I'm doing your reading with my own tarot deck, so the cards that you'll see are from this deck. Aquarius, again, you beginning a new cycle of readings, which brings such joy to me. And so, talking about joy and excitement and something that is just instigating and thrilling and inviting to you, but trying to hold yourself steady and remain grounded, right? This is basically the theme of your reading today, because we are starting with the Ace of Wands. And maybe you know this, but this card, despite being related to, the fire element, right? Wands being fire, and this ace, it's all about this spark, this ignition, this first movement, right? This first inspiration, this first breakthrough, perhaps in creativity, right? But this image here always brings me to a tree, always takes me to the steadiness, to the reliability of a very ancient old tree, right? Because of its just the it's like the power of the tree. And I don't know exactly which words to express how it feels grand, right? It feels like this sort of ancient being that has been through a lot of seasons, that has seen a lot of changes in the world, in the environment, in the energy, right? It's almost like the wisdom that is held in a tree, right? It's like this is all being renewed, I want to say, right? Because after all, it is an ace, right? So it's like perhaps like this renewal of your wisdom, or renewal of your creativity, or your inspiration for something, right? But it's based on something that has been there. It's almost like, you know, trees don't talk or don't express themselves in a very obvious way, right? It's very subtle. And they are like, to me, they are the epitome of patience, right? And so I'm just, thinking right now of the chaos that the world is undergoing right now, and how humans are, cutting down trees of it as if it was nothing, right? And so holding on to the piece of wisdom that, some of us identify, and perhaps you, Aquarius, being the one that, are able to see far down the line and, have these glimpses of the future. It's like perhaps the wisdom that comes from these beings, these ancient beings that, and I want to say it's almost like you are one of them, right? That's the reason why perhaps you can communicate to them. That's the reason why you find them so reliable, or like this source of inspiration, right? The source of creativity, right? Perhaps there is, and it doesn't need to be necessarily a tree, but it's almost like there is something that holds you steady, but also like brings this spark of joy, this spark of light, this spark of inspiration, right? And so whatever is this for you, Aquarius, I feel like there is this whirlwind of events and energies and big transformations, or it's almost like you're trying to hold steady to perhaps a same process of creation that you have, established for yourself. Or it's almost like there is this desire to renew this creative inspiration, but at the same time, because there's so much going on, and I want to say it's not within you, it's more like, well, it could be both, right? It's around you, but it also reflects within you. And what you're trying to do, it's almost like reach out for this reliable ancient being or ancient source of inspiration, right? Or, perhaps this is the way you used to create, the way you used to find inspiration. Perhaps go out in nature, right? Go outdoors and just be with a tree or be with nature, right? Be immersed in some sort of very ancient place, but ancient in a way that it holds wisdom, right? To find this renewal of your creativity, of your inspiration. But because there's so much going on, and I'm going to show you why I'm saying that and why I'm picking up on this whirlwind of events. Because, well, first of all, I'm seeing like this wind blowing, the tree, and, you see all the branches moving. So it feels like, although this is a tree that brings usually this steadiness, this stability, right? This reliability, right? It's like it's unmoving. So it speaks very subtly, very silently, right? You have to pick up the signals in a very subtle kind of way. But because of the wind that I'm seeing blowing, and it's almost like the trees are speaking now more than ever, because it's like this renewal that needs to be more evident, that needs to be seen. So the wind comes and blows all of the leaves, right? And we are entering a new season here in the southern hemisphere. It's the spring, and in the northern hemisphere is the autumn or the fall. So the changing of the leaves is also something that is being renewed, right? Or at least changed in some way. And so looking for this steadiness, right, in this change, right, in the midst of this chaos, I want to say, Aquarius, what you're trying to do here with the Two of Swords is taking the right steps. This is exactly what I heard with the Two of Swords. So it's very simple, it's very clear, it's very sharp. While this is going on, and I want to say like externally first, right, it's almost like you're noticing the wind more, or you're noticing that you need to be close to a tree, or you're just noticing its presence more, right? What used to bring you this source of calm and serenity, but also like this spark of inspiration, right? But through silence, through steadiness, right? It's now being shaken, it's now being moved in a way that all that you want to carry on, right? Or to take this inspiration and do something with it is take the right steps, right? So if chaos is, surrounding you and entering your internal space, right? Your internal room of creativity, it feels like there is something that you're trying to do right. So, and it feels like you're trying to hold on steady just as much as you have learned from the steadiness of the tree, right? I hope this makes sense. And I feel like you are trusting your intuition, right? With the High Priestess, I feel like there are small steps in the right direction, but it's like you're trying to make sure that these are the right steps, that these are the right moves, right? So it's like whenever the wind picks up, right, and speeds up, it's like you rely upon this, right? This intuitive guidance, because there is a certain goal, there is something that you are striving to achieve, there is something that you're aiming for with the Emperor here. So the small steps in the midst of big energies, right? And these are not the only two major arcana of your reading. You may have seen in the thumbnail, but we also have two others, and I feel like it's like this big response of something that you have learned. It's like this process of creation that perhaps you have spontaneously found yourself just in it and working through it, right? And now that the energy is moving faster, it's like Now it's not the time for the subtle messages to come through. Now it's time for the big changes, for the big messages, for, you know, the chaos to show its show its power of renewal. It's almost like now it's not this. It's like, even though you're still trying to take small steps, or, you know, go in the right direction, almost as if there was like, you know, this possibility or just this belief that things could go wrong. But with these two cards coming next, right, the High Priestess reassuring to you, Aquarius, that, you know, following your intuition and following this internal guidance, it's like you are able to break through the hardest winds, I want to say, right, and flow with it. Because you see this arrow, or whatever this is here in the middle, it's like it's breaking through what could be seen as waves or obstacles, or, you know, some sort of barrier, right? So there is this breakthrough that occurs through this. It's almost like, yes, you're right to take small steps when you see that things are just growing, right? It's like the energy is growing in a way that you have to be, well, you have learned to speak the language of the trees that is very subtle, right? So it's almost like you have learned to silence yourself, silence whatever it is that was around you, that was, you know, just not allowing you to see this. But now that you do, it's almost like this is an instant communication, right? And so that's the reason why I feel like you're taking these small steps, because it's almost like you're mimicking what you have learned from this process of creation. So now that you're trying to, it is a renewal, okay? So trying to do things the old way, it's not necessarily going to work, but it's almost like it's going to allow you to listen to these subtle things behind, or, you know, in the midst of loud things or loud noises or just chaos in general, right? And so this is the strength that you have, like your intuition, your internal compass, it's almost like it's this burst, right? It's like this arrow that is being shooted with your intuitive senses, and that is guiding these steps in the right direction towards this goal to reach the Emperor. And the Emperor, you know, more so often than not, it's coming through more as reward, or as like this it's like this prize, or this perhaps you could see it as a finish line, but it's more so as like something that is worth reaching. It's worth going for it, right? It's like it's going to be everything that you wished for, or that you wanted, or that you expected, and more, right? It's like this highest type of acknowledgement or prize or reward, right? And so there is something, it's almost like it's coming through as like a target, right? And so this arrow that you are shooting, right, it's like with your intuition guiding this. It's like this, it's interesting because, you know, usually the High Priestess is a very passive, receptive energy, but today this is coming through as like the movement that guides you, or at least, okay, so now this is very interesting, Aquarius. This could be the steadiness that you're trying to hold on in a very, very moving environment, right? It's almost like the same thing that this mimicking of the tree that you're doing, right? It's like the tree, because it has like a very strong trunk and very strong roots, right? Despite the chaos and the strength of the wind, it's like this is going to remain steady, right? And strong. And so this is what you're doing. So perhaps it's not that this arrow is being shooted, or is being how do you say it? It's like it's being thrown out there, right? It's like it's going forward. It's more so like everything is passing through you so quickly, like the wind, but you're still, right? It's like you are still taking these small steps. So apparently you are moving, but it's not necessarily because you are moving. It's just because, you know, things are moving against you, or it's almost like this is coming faster to you, right? It's like it's not that you have to walk towards this emperor. It's like the emperor is coming to you, but because the wind is so strong, it feels like you have to hold on even stronger to your intuition, because this is going to be, well, you know, the flame that is not going to be shut down by the wind. It's actually going to be kept alive, right? Because it breaks through the wind. I hope this makes sense. It's very abstract, but it's almost like it's the opposite that I was seeing. It's not that you are going, it's like that things are coming to you, and in a way that it might overwhelm you, I want to say, right? It's like perhaps, you know, if you rely upon this source of stability that, you know, feels like the image of a tree, right? A very ancient tree, or perhaps could be, you know, like just a reference of somebody that you know that is very reliable, that is very steady, that is very just strong, right? It's like they have seen change. They have been through various types of experiences and change in seasons, right? This could be just, you know, a source of inspiration, right? Somebody that you admire, right? And that whenever you think of them, whenever you talk to them, whenever you're near them, it's like they provide you with this sense of renewal, but also renewal in terms of remaining connected, right? Remaining connected to the deep roots, to the deep wisdom, to the deep source of intuition and knowledge, right? And so, but you perhaps feel inexperienced or unprepared, or just a novice or an apprentice, right? In terms of what you see this one doing, or, you know, the experience that this one has. For you with the Page of Pentacles, it's like you're just a young tree, right? So your own self, it's like you're not as rooted or as grounded as this source, right? So for you, that's the reason why perhaps you are, you know, following your intuition, because you see yourself as, you know, perhaps smaller or still, you know, young, right? It's like you're taking the steps that you are capable of taking as the young apprentice, or as this young tree. It's how I'm seeing it. It's very strange, but it's like you are doing the best that you can with the information that you have, with the strength that you have, perhaps with the resources, the limited resources, you know, the small amount of experience that you have, or, you know, I'm feeling like this is you, perhaps, you know, being very responsible with, well, very truthful with your own steps. It's like you're not going to be more than you're capable of being, right? It's like you're accepting where you are right now, right? And what you have learned so far. And so you're taking the conscious steps, right, that fit what you have at hand, right? It's like perhaps materially, financially, or, you know, in terms of just experience, right? It's like you see that you don't have enough, at least not in comparison to how you see this one, right? It's like, so because the winds are picking up, right? And you it's like you have to look for this one, for like just to hold yourself in this position where your intuition will remain steady, right? It's like you are going to use it as like this it's like use it as like some sort of instrument to pierce through the wind, right? And to allow the chaos to pass through you, but in a way that brings you the reward, and not, it's like it's not going to break you, or it's not going to make you fall, right? Despite the lack of complete stability that you might feel right now, right? And so here is the good news, Aquarius. The Sun and the Magician. So if the wind is blowing strong, right? And you have to use your, it's almost like this internal balance, right? Intuition as an internal balance, right? To remain still, or taking the few steps to allow this wind to pass through you and break through it, right? It is a breakthrough, but in a way that brings this reward. And so yes, the reward comes, and I want to say it's like you being very truthful with yourself and allowing yourself to be in this position of an apprentice, right? And not being it's almost like, what is the word? It's like it's like trying it's not the right word. I was going to say, you know, trying to cheat a little bit, like, you know, seeing yourself as more, trying to believe in that. But it's almost like being humble and being modest and accepting the limitations of what you have right now is exactly the right position that you are, just to receive the reward in these two forms, right? So it's almost like the breaking down of this, right? Whenever the Emperor reaches you, so it's almost like you're being fast tracked, but in a way that you're holding this position, right? Because of your intuitive guidance. And so you're allowing everything to pass through you. And when you do, it's like straight away, and I want to say soon enough, this reward reaches you and breaks down into these two, right? It's almost like what I'm seeing here, it's like this magician is unblocking the sun, right? So this is when you know, I want to say, that this has arrived, because it's going to feel like the wind has passed, right? And, you know, because usually, you know, these strong winds come when, you know, there is a cloudy day or a foggy day, or it's like you cannot perceive the sun, right? So I want to say remaining humble, remaining modest, but knowing that you still have a lot to learn. It's like, you know, it's almost like remaining steady and remaining this it's just like this student of this inspiring source of creativity, right? It's like this Ace of Wands is coming through as like a reference or some sort of personality or person that you admire, right? Or even like, you know, a tree, as I said, it could be like just, you know, an element in nature. It could be fire, right? After all, the Ace of Wands is fire, but it's more so like the reliability of, you know, always looking out. It's like, or reaching out for this for the steadiness, right? Despite the change. And so this is constantly renewed, I want to say. And so this is why you also constantly reach out for this inspiration, or for this person, or for, you know, whoever or whatever this represents for you. And so being in this position, it's like you are learning a lot from it, and you're learning a lot because of this, because what is being brought to you, right, as the wind picks up is this. It's like the strength and the power of your intuition that is going to bring you like the biggest rewards after this wind calms down. And, you know, it's almost like I'm seeing this magician as a cloud, right? It's like the cloud that was keeping the sun from this, you know, from its full brightness or from its full potential, right? And so the reward here, Aquarius, is, I want to say, like clarity, right? Most of all, like this complete awareness, right? And knowing exactly who you are, where you are, what you are doing, what you are capable of manifesting, right? When you can see clearly, right? Because, you know, you were already seeing clearly the steps you were taking, you know, these small steps, because this was what you could perceive when chaos was around you, right? And in order to keep this fire alive, to keep this fire lit, right, this source of inspiration within you alive, it's like you had to take those small steps. And it's almost like allow, with your intuition, very, very sharp, very precise, but also very steady, right, for this to reach you. And when it does, it's like it's completely illuminating, right? It's almost like this, it's like complete fulfillment, I want to say, right? It's like there is a lot of power, but there is a lot of understanding and fulfillment. So it's almost like I feel like this is going to be known as soon as the wind calms down, right? So I don't feel like you're there yet. That is the interesting thing. I feel like the chaos is still around you pretty much, but it's almost like this hope, right? It's like you know that for sure there's going to be a point where this will just calm down, right? And you will see the light. It's like you will find this, it's like this endless source of inspiration, right? It's like you won't have to take care of this fire being put down, right? Because this is never going to be shut, right? This is never going to be turned off, right? This is eternal. So it's almost like it's necessary for you to see that there are moments that, you know, the sun is not seen, but just because it's almost like a test, right? A test of your trust in your intuition. So that is really, really, really interesting and actually inspiring, right? It's like you're doing a lot with what you can at the moment, Aquarius. But I'm going to pull more cards for you, as well as the astrological runes in the extended reading. So if you want to join me there, I'll be happy to see you, and you can find the link down below. If not, I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.